my road bike, my pouch, I have to take travel tissues in there.
Crazy.
But, yeah, I don't know why that is, but anyway, people that are tuning in right now are probably wondering what is going on.
Just a normal conversation among homies. That's what's going on.
Conversations. We're talking about runny noses.
For sure.
So you never know what sort of conversations we will have before we go live. Shane and I have had some interesting ones, that's for sure.
Nice.
He's usually egging me on about the Eagles beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl the previous year.
Yeah.
So, which actually makes me think, Jamal, who's your favorite sports teams? Like, I don't even know. I don't hear you talk about sports too much.
Because no one really likes to talk about soccer. That's why.
Oh,
so
yes, of
I
course.
am only.
I know you're a soccer fan.
Exactly.
But
I'm only but so pushy about that.
okay.
So my team is Arsenal, who plays in England. Their city's in London, but there's like 6 London teams. So you got to say Arsenal. Arsenal Football Club in England. They play in the British Premier League. They're the best.
Okay.
Rephrase, they play the best looking football, as I would say.
Yes.
They have not won a title in England in a while, but they are the best playing team, in my opinion.
Among our Americanized version of football, any favorite teams that you kind of like?
Oh, you
will
mean
root for?
You mean hand egg?
Yeah, hand egg.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's way more logical to call the sport that we have.
Okay.
It is a game which normally uses your hands,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's not shaped like a ball.
No.
It's shaped like an
egg.
egg.
Yes.
So hand egg would be an appropriate title for the sport. Hand egg. So, unfortunately,
It just doesn't have the same ring to it, but okay.
I think it has an incredible ring to it. Here's the thing. This kind of goes into my personality of like kind of rivalry kind of stuff. And maybe even if we want to get kind of related to what we're talking about, I am moved negatively towards American football because there's a football, soccer rivalry.
Sure.
People that play soccer should not like American football. That's the way it's supposed to go.
Gotcha. There we go. Hidden hatreds of pastors.
Yep. Sorry, that's how I am.
They're
I
human
really,
too.
Yeah.
You know, and no, that's great. And
being real, guys, I really don't like hand egg.
Okay.
So I don't root for any hand egg teams.
All right. So no fan. He didn't have a favorite team for this year's NHL, so National Hand Egg League.
I like what you did there. Nice.
Yes, not the National Hockey League.
That was good.
H is already taken. Well, for all those that tuning in and are wondering what they turned into, perhaps I should go back to work instead and turn this off. Thank you very much for joining. We'd like to give a few minutes for all the notifications to go out that we've gone live. So that's why we have just a little conversation, and you do get these moments to ask a question that you might have wondered before sometimes when you've been sitting there listening to this awesome guy deliver a message and thinking, I wonder what his favorite American football team is. Now you know. He just doesn't have one.
And now I just need to maybe apologize, but not in a way because it's how I feel. Yeah, I do not like I don't like football.
Everybody's got preferences. We ask for your opinion. And for those that are tuning in that are wondering what you've tuned into as well, this is Pastor Jamal Jones, and I am Communications Director Jim Washock, and we are going to talk about this past Sunday's sermon because Jamal delivered the message this past week, and he had the distinct honor of kicking off a brand new series called
I love that.
Moved, which you notice we've got graphics behind us.
Yeah, we do.
This is thanks to our awesome Mike Dalton, who heads up all of our technology here.
Golf clap for Mike.
WEAG.
Shout out.
And he just came up with this idea, and it's awesome. So
It's a really good idea.
We were just talking sports. That was very appropriate because if you watch a sports interview, you see this behind them.
That's the truth. Right? All of the sponsors and the advertisements and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, look at us getting like sports feel.
Yeah. So it's not ESPN, but it is WEAG. And so we thank you for tuning in to WEAG.
Killing these connections and transitions. I love that.
So now that we're interrupting people's work or whatever else that they're more important that they're doing at home, let's dig into what was important this past Sunday.
Absolutely.
And that was this message about what moves Jesus. And so just in case anybody that tuned in right now missed the sermon, do you have a 37.9-second version of the sermon that you can unload on our viewers?
I think I can do it in less. Jesus has a moment when he is on his way to be crucified, and the text we looked at was Luke chapter 19, verse 41 through 42, where he looks over the city of Jerusalem, and he essentially says that he is looking at them and he weeps, and he feels a sadness over the people in the city of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And from that, in my study, in my time of preparing, I felt like Jesus is saying that he has a priority of people over projects. And I think that is the 30-something second summary of what I talked about on Sunday.
Very good. Well, thank you for that summarization. So now we caught everyone up, and after this live, if you didn't by chance miss the sermon, or you just really want to watch it again, which you should, it was awesome. It is available on our website at weag.org. It's WEAG.org. You can catch on the home banner, or anytime you can go to our YouTube channel at WEAG TV. WEAG TV is all you got to search, and it'll bring you right to our history of sermons and messages. You'll be able to catch this message as well. In the meantime, while we've got Jamel's attention for the next 25 minutes or so, live to answer some questions, if you have any questions about this past Sunday's sermon, or anything that he says during our time with him live, feel free to use the comments area. And our awesome moderator, Nikki Kelly, will
Shout out to Nikki.
Will receive your question. She'll flag us down.
She
goes like this and goes, hello, I've got a question. No, she doesn't do that. But she gets our attention, and we'll be sure to receive your question and let Jamel answer.
For sure. So, please ask a question. There's no such thing as a bad question, I feel like. So ask away.
Except, why did the chicken cross the road?
Because we all know it's to get to the other side.
Yeah. So that's kind of a bad question, because everybody knows the answer now.
It wouldn't be bad to ask it, but it's a question that most of us know.
Nikki will answer for you.
She got you.
Jamel, let's go ahead and get started. You just said Jesus prioritized people over projects, and typically in the year 2018, project has quite a general, vague, multi-application to that word.
Main definitions for it, potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So in this context, though, what is a project, for those that don't know?
So the way that I defined a project for the case of this sermon was, a project is an intangible issue that a person could be moved towards or be passionate about. Okay. So just a litany or a list of projects could be racial reconciliation, it could be foster care and adoption, it could be evangelism, it could be sports, it could be food chain allegiances. Those are just examples. Anything essentially that is an intangible that you could care about, that would be an example of a project.
Oh, okay.
In the way that at least we defined it for the sermon.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when Jesus walked the face of the earth 2,000 years ago, projects may have been a little bit different there than it is now, and so forth.
But there were some that were the same, actually.
Okay. What might be one of those? Go ahead.
I think that really all religion, in its intangible idea, could be considered a project. It could be something that any person is passionate about, that's something that I'm definitely passionate about, I believe you as well, that you could, in one sense, see the Christian faith as a project. It's an intangible, you can't touch Christianity, and it's something that we care about, and we could have a desire to see other people agree with and be a part of. I think that faith can be considered a project.
Okay.
Because project isn't necessarily negative.
Sure.
It can be positive, and it can be both, depending on how a person interacts with it, I believe.
Okay. So let's start with religion, and I want to ask you this question: what are some of the projects in our lives 2,000 years after Jesus was ministering to folks in the flesh? What are some of the projects that we prioritize over people? So I take it religion is one of those projects, right?
Yeah, and I think that it's so easy for a person to prioritize the project of someone being a Christian or someone becoming a Christian over the actual person, the tangible, you can touch, you can hug, you interact with face-to-face person that they're trying to, let's just say, have become a Christian. And I think that's why it's neither good or bad, a project. It's really how you prioritize it. So if the most important thing is for your project to be completed, if the most important thing is a person needs to become a Christian, then you unfortunately might treat that idea better than the person. So therefore, that's where I think a lot of us has had these moments where someone says something really mean to you, but it's for the sake of Jesus. So that, I think, is in essence prioritizing the project over the person. Now let's use another kind of example, a more simple one. Let's say that we want our child to do the dishes, okay? Sorry, I have a child, so that's my first example comes to my mind, so sorry if you don't, but if you have a child, you say, hey son, I have a son, hey son, can you please do your dishes? And let's just say he says no. Now I have a choice to make. am I going to prioritize the person of my son over the project? Or am I going to prioritize the project over my son? So let's just kind of spitball a way that I do this. I've done both, of course. Unfortunately, one more than the other. So let's say I'm prioritizing the project. I will look at him and just say, son, let's just say, why aren't you going to do that, son? Oh, because I'm playing with my Pokemon cards. And I'll say, son, I don't care what you're doing. Now this is extreme. Son, I don't care what you're doing. I need you to stop right now, and I need you to do the dishes. Now, depending on how you might do that, I think that might be prioritizing the project over my son. Now, he might respond to that and do it. That's fine. A different way to do it, and this lets you into a little bit of my parenting principle, is let's just say I'm over him. I say, son, I don't care what you're going to do. You're going to do this dishes right this instant. Let's say I want to prioritize my son. So now I get down his level, right? I get down his level and I say, hey, son, I feel really disrespected when you disobey me like this. Let's just say that. So how about we try to make a compromise? How about I give you 1 more minute to play with Pokemon cards and then you do the dishes. And he can say, yeah. I think that is just an off the top of my mind kind of example of how we do the prioritizing.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. I'd like to ask you, what might be at the root cause of our prioritizing projects over people? Why do we seem we so often do that?
Yeah, I think there's 2 ones that jump to my mind.
Okay.
The first one is for the sense of accomplishment. It's so much easier to get stuff done at the sake of a person than it is for a person. So we even have adages or sayings in our culture like, oh, you got to step on a lot of people to get to the top.
Yeah.
You know? So if you want to get something done, do it yourself. Kind of forget all those people that you have to interact with. Just do it yourself. Forget helping someone learn a skill. Just do it for them. I think accomplishment is a huge one, and that leads us to prioritizing poorly. And then another one, I believe, is just human selfishness, actually. I think that's probably the root cause of most unfortunate things in our world. Just I wanting my thing to happen. I want something from you as opposed to something for you. I think that's a huge one.
Okay. So really, I guess, is it fair to say that even the example that you just said with getting the dishes done by your son, I think it sounds like both of those things could apply, where it's just a matter of convenience to just use your power and authority as a parent, like, just get this done, versus the extra time and effort it takes to relate on a personal level. Would you say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I absolutely agree with that and see it that way.
Okay. I just want to remind our viewers, take a brief pause here, that if you have questions, please use the comments areas. We definitely want to get your questions in while we've got Jamal's attention and he can respond on the spot. Unless, of course, you're watching this on demand at a later time, then we're really not sitting here right now in front of this banner. Nikki's not at her computer. But we still, even if you are watching this at a later time, please use the comments area. Go ahead and ask a question. We will still get those via notification. And we will be sure to get those to Jamal so that he can respond to you.
Absolutely.
So an hour later, the offer still stands.
For sure.
But definitely, if you're watching now, now's your best chance. So Jamal, moving on, what did Jesus' prioritization of people cause him to do?
I think it caused him to bring people along in the journey.
Okay.
More than he would have if he had not prioritized people. I also think that it gave Jesus a level of grace that enabled him to be selfless. Now, he was selfless because he's Jesus and he's perfect. But I think that his prioritizing of people is a huge component of Jesus' selflessness, for sure. And I think that now there are moments when Jesus, being perfect, says things that might have led us to think, whoa, is he really prioritizing people? Because that was really mean. So meanness is a normal indicator of people's priorities, but isn't always the case. And also Jesus is perfect, so he can do stuff that we can't do and shouldn't do because we're not perfect like him. So I think it brought grace, and I think it brought people along with him. Because, for instance, if Jesus just wanted to get the saving of the world done, he didn't need disciples, right? He didn't need the 12 apostles. Come, live perfectly, die, be up, have people far away, do it. But he brought people into a close circle with him, a small group maybe, you could say it as, and he brought people along the journey with him. and he gave grace to the disciples, like Peter, for instance, who's probably, I mean, he's most like me, which is a screw up, right? So Peter does all this ridiculous stuff, deserts Jesus, and Jesus is still like, no, man, you're restored. Or, so, you know, the language of, I will build my church upon, you know, debating on what that really means, but like, hey, Peter, you're going to be one of the key people in the spreading of this message after he messed everything up.
Yeah.
If Jesus cared more about just getting the world saved, he would have said, forget you, next one.
You're out. Yes.
Exactly, you're out.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Brought people along with grace, and I think those are the things that pop off in my mind for sure.
So it was essential for Jesus really to demonstrate the prioritization of people over projects, not just say it. He couldn't go around just preaching it. He actually had to demonstrate it.
Absolutely, and I think there are places that we can see Jesus doing that.
Yeah, like healing somebody on the Sabbath.
True.
I think that's probably one of those examples, right?
You know, it's funny. I thought of some as we were preparing to talk, and that wasn't even one in my mind, but that's a great example.
Yeah.
There was the project of obeying the law that Jesus could have cared more about than this person. It would have been so easy for Jesus to just walk by that person, but he didn't. He stopped, and he demonstrated that, hey, guys, there was a time where the project of following the law was the paramount thing, but it's not anymore. It's not.
It's a whole new ball game, folks.
It's a whole new
Gotta
world.
get with it.
A dazzling place I never knew.
That's right.
Even from way up here, it's crystal clear that now I'm in a whole new world with you.
Why did I know? I kind of felt like...
yeah, Aladdin. New one's coming out, y'all. Peep that.
Seriously?
Yes.
Like a sequel or something?
Bro, it's a live action Aladdin.
Live action Aladdin.
Will Smith is the genie.
No way.
Yes. Please, take your kids. Take yourself. Oh, you can't be got children.
Robin Williams was still around.
R.I.P.
Love you,
You're
Robin.
right.
Yes.
For sure.
I miss you.
But yeah, that's what that song was.
Okay.
I think it applies to this situation.
Are there any other examples? You said you thought of some before as well,
Yes.
where Jesus disrupted norms and beliefs by prioritizing people.
Yes.
What else you got?
The one that jumped out to me the most was the woman caught in adultery. That's about John chapter 8. And for sure, so easy for Jesus to just let her be stoned. But he didn't. He cared about her, and he didn't want her to be an example. He didn't want her to be an example of the law. He wanted her to be an example of God's care for people and how people are more important than the laws. Yeah. We can think about the Good Samaritan story. Good Samaritan story, I think that shows that. And we have, even in that story, we have examples of people prioritizing the project of getting to the temple to do worship over the priority of this person.
Agenda.
Yeah, exactly. And then another example is the woman at the well, another Samaritan story where Jesus should not have interacted with her. But he did, because he prioritized people over the projects of the law. That was, you know, in all of those situations, about the same project of like following the law. And Jesus prioritized people above that.
Yeah, yeah. The Samaritan on the side of the road one is the Good Samaritan story. That one cuts close to the heart.
For sure.
Because definitely in our modern time, of being so busy and having our phones constantly trying to vie for our attention and so forth, it can be just way too easy to overlook a need.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me saying, actually, it's that story gets the two priests, essentially, that are in that story get a really bad rap. People just think they weren't paying attention or that they weren't compassionate people because there's a little bit of historical context or cultural context needs to be added, and I'll just add that because I think this changes the whole story. So when they were walking down the street, and to say they're a priest or they were a Levite, or whichever words they used, they had somewhere to be. They were on their way to lead worship, essentially. Now, I'll use common language. Imagine last Sunday, I'm on my way driving to come and speak, right? Like I'm the speaker, everyone's waiting for me, not really, but you know what I mean? Like I'm supposed to be in that slot. Yeah. Now, for them, if they had stopped and helped that person, they, by law, could not have done worship. So imagine me stopping on the road and helping a person getting all bloody and infected or whatever, and I call everyone. I say, let's just say Shane was in town, right? And I say, hey Shane, I'm so sorry. I know it's 5 minutes till my time to speak, or an hour until. I can't. I'm so sorry. Like that is such a huge price to pay for that. But that's the thing. Like, are we willing to make the sacrifice for people over projects? Are we? It's really hard. And we'll get to a little bit about more personally how that's really been hard for me even since Sunday.
Yeah.
It's been like 3 days, and I felt the stress and the tension of it. And I think that I understand why people don't actually do what the Bible says.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I really do, because some days it's hard and the benefits don't come until later. But at the beginning, it's just like struggle and change and against your grain of normal thinking. I think it's difficult, but it's worth it. It's better. But sometimes better is normally not easier.
Well, after watching this, I think Shane's going to keep a backup sermon in his back pocket.
He should.
When you're on the schedule.
Whenever it's on for me, for sure, he should.
Knowing Shane, he's probably ready to go at any moment.
Any moment.
He can jump on stage, grab the mic, and bring home a message.
That is so true,
yeah,
actually.
Yeah, I'm sure he can.
Shane is one of the best extemporaneous speakers that I have heard and know personally.
Definitely gifting.
For sure.
Jamal, you talked about another big thing you emphasized, and this got real personal. We're going to get real personal right now with Jamal.
Do it.
You talked about wanting to establish in your own life a 60-40 rule.
Yes.
So that's a ratio, 60%, 40%, of when it comes to your ratio of Jesus to personal posts on social media. So I want to ask you, how long have you been doing? How long has that been? How have you been trying to follow that? And if it was so, what it's like? Yeah. We're going to hold you accountable, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's really just talk about since Sunday, because like I actually said in the sermon that I've kind of had that rule for the past, actually like 8 years-ish.
Okay.
And I have absolutely been failing at it.
Okay.
And, you know, it's been in my mind, but I haven't necessarily been watching and paying attention. It's been in the back of my mind when I want to do something or post something. But so I've been like a hawk vigilant of it the past 3 days. And it is so difficult. Honestly, guys, I don't think 60-40 is doable. I don't think that's doable. And let me say why, actually. Okay. And because it might sound really unspiritual, like, what? You can't do that? Like, what? You're a liar. Maybe. Like, I'm not a liar. I hope not. That's what I tried before. Sure. That's what I tried for the past 3 days. Yeah. And I just think that a 60-40% of 60% Jesus-related and 40% personal is too inauthentic to actual life. I think that maybe a 50-50 would be better. Because if I just think about, if someone was seeing my posts, right, and just through the feed, and there could be a potential to see 6 Jesus-related posts at one time, and then go, whoa, like this guy is like, what is he doing in a way? So now I'm thinking of my friends who aren't Christians, even some of my friends who are Christians, just say, whoa, Jamal, calm down with that kind of thing. And as kind of an evangelism mindset with this, I just think that in a world that is adverse to, let's just say adverse to the gospel, I may be overstating it, but adverse to the gospel, it is poor stewardship to have that much of a ratio when people are just seeing posts. Now, in life, in conversations, it's different. But let's even think about, this is another thing I have in my mind. When I think about what it's like to be evangelistic or talk about Jesus when it comes to the world outside of us or around, whatever, and say a secular world, I think about that our world is truly secularized. Some people say we're in a post-Christian nation now, which the rest of the world has been in post-Christian for decades, right? Okay. So what I think about is, if that sounds unspiritual to say 60% is too much Jesus on social media, I think to myself, well, let's just say you had a missionary friend who lived in a closed country to the gospel. Would you say that 60% Jesus would be rude for them? You'd say, yes, that's way too much. You'd get kicked out. You'd ruin your whole ministry if you 60% Jesus. I think we're in the same place here in the United States. Maybe that's sad to some people, but I think that's where we are. And so, yeah, I'm gonna scale it back. So I failed some more, and I've actually done a lot of not posting. Like I go to post something and go, oh, I actually can't do that. Yeah, that's actually not. That's prioritizing projects, or that's like too much Jesus in a row.
Gotcha.
So I've done more typing and deleting than I have posting. So.
Well, thank you for being transparent with that struggle and your goal and so on and so forth. Kind of leading from that, does it mean, like, these posts don't have to be like preachy though? Like they could be anything that's reflective in a positiveness and love that Jesus would, right?
Correct. Okay. It could, yes. Yeah. That was the two things in my mind. Am I going to change my definition of Jesus related? Or am I going to change the ratio? At this point, I'm not changing the ratio.
Yeah.
Yet, I could change the definition.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So 51-49.
Yeah,
you can do
51-49.
Yeah,
Just
51-49.
still the majority.
Still the majority. Yeah, exactly. What are some other examples of how our viewers that are watching right now or on demand later, how can we prioritize people over projects one on social media? What are some specific examples of doing that on social media? We're going to get to a couple other contexts in a moment.
Great.
Yeah.
On social media would be, the easiest one is like, how mean is this post? Like how mean is this post? That's the first one. So today, when I was going to post something soccer related, right? So I said to myself, oh, I'm going to hit retweet. That's hilarious. It's funny. He's making fun of the rival team for Arsenal. I went, oh no, that's like too mean. So I didn't. Yeah. And also, it's like I'm not really a mean person. I'm more of a like cornily encouraging person. So like, oh, that's too mean. Can't do that one. Or sorry. And then examples of positive and negative ones we want for this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
that'd be great.
So then a positive one would be, will a person read this and be encouraged by it? Yeah. So those are the two that really jump out to my mind the most.
Yeah. I hear so many people when I'm interacting, talking with folks, talking about the negativity that's on social media, a lot of that, the arguing that goes on and so forth. So all those viewers that are watching right now, don't join in. Don't throw fuel on the fire, right?
Don't do it, yeah. Oh, another great way is, would I post this if I was saying it to someone's face? That's a great one,
That is a good one, yes. That should definitely make us stop and think. It's so easy. You just whip out and hit send, right?
Yeah, or share, or all of that.
Yeah, so just think about it. Count to 10 before you actually hit send.
Ooh, 10's too, whoa,
think,
like 3.
Think about the recipient. Well, I don't know. We might need to count to 10.
Maybe.
Some of the posts out there, like
ruckus out here.
I've seen basic questions about technology, because I'm a technologist, about like database structures turn into label calling and names and swearing. I'm like, oh my word! Like, he just had a question about structuring a database. Like, let's go. You know, ease up, folks.
He just said he liked that his team won. Calm down.
That's right. Oh man, how about at school or at work? How do we prioritize people over projects at school or work?
One thing I forgot to say during the sermon that I want to make clear is, maybe I spent too much time on social media for whatever reason. Maybe I spent too much time there. But I spent time there because I felt like that was the easiest applicable one. The majority of us should probably have social media, but I actually might be wrong. Maybe the majority of us don't. So let's just, and it's easier because you have time to think. Person-to-person interactions are so much harder because you have less time to think. And I'm an extrovert, so I actually often don't think before I speak. So that's the hardest. That's like the most mature level to be at.
You try to catch the words in midair.
Absolutely. I just can't do
believe
it.
I said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I am doing a lot of apologizing, unfortunately, as opposed to preventative measures. So if we're getting to that level, let's say some examples at home are, do you care more about getting something done or spending time together? I think sometimes we have the project of getting food done. Whether you're with a family or whether you have a roommate, like, do you care more about finishing eating or do you care more about the person that you're interacting with? Right? So that's one example. I think at school, do you care more about, and this is debatable, do you care more about, in a group project, let's just say, do you care more about getting an A or do you care more about helping people develop their skills? So in so many group projects, I have such a temptation to say, how about you don't do that? How about you just let me do that? And you just take notes or something.
Yeah. How about a work-related one?
A work-related
one. Office-related one or
yeah,
something. Because there's a lot of things that can go down behind backs at office.
This is the for sure. I think the easiest one at work is gossip. And for me, I think about, would I say this would I say this to would I say it this way if they were here with me? Would I say it this way if they could hear me? Would I say this to their face this exact way? And if the answer is no, then I think you're prioritizing the project of venting or the project of making yourself look better at someone else's expense over that other person.
Yeah. Or building a team, building people on your side or whatever it might be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think, man, even maybe a more personal one too for me is is foster care and adoption. So like we've adopted our first son, and we're having another child later. So we only have one son, we're gonna have a daughter soon, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter, personal stuff. But for foster care, and like, do I strong arm people into doing foster care and adopting because I care so much about it? Because if that's how I wanted to do it, I would just drown people in statistics and maybe guilt them into saying, what, you don't care about children who don't have homes? What's the matter with you? Like, I could do that. Or do I care more about, will this person thrive in this scenario? Is this something that they actually feel like something is moving them to do outside of just me and my words? So for so many things that I care about, I have to ask myself, is this really the best for this person and this project, or is it really just best for this project and it actually would hurt this person?
Gotcha. Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Jamal. Now, is Shane back in the hot seat next week by chance? Do you know?
I unfortunately do not know.
You do not know. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to be having week number 2 of Moved, our New Moved series is this coming Sunday at 10 a.m. So we certainly hope that you'll be able to join us on site or online for that message, whoever might be bringing it. Whoever. Probably Pastor Shane, but I do not. Nikki, do you know by chance? Is it Pastor Shane? All right, we'll have Pastor Shane back next week. Woo! And stay tuned for when our next live, the date and time for our next live as well. And we hope that this was very helpful to all of you that have watched this interview live or on demand at a later point in time, and having some clear takeaways of how to be moved as Jesus was moved.
Yeah, and if you still have questions after watching this later, please type them and we'll respond.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Jamal. Certainly appreciate it.
Hey.
All right, and we want to thank all of you for tuning in. We hope you have a blessed day.
Bye, y'all.
All right, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.